In today's episode, we're going to be doing a deep dive into FIREBELLY Tea, specifically their customer journey, and we're going to be analyzing everything from the on-site shopping experience to the unboxing to all of the emails that we were sent in the 30 days after we received our order. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break down what they did right, what they did wrong, and how they could have optimized their repeat purchase rate and LTV. So the reason why I want to order from FIREBELLY Tea is essentially I am a huge tea drinker. I drink chamomile tea to help me fall asleep almost every night. I buy the cheap tea that is sold at the grocery stores. It does the trick for me, but I've seen the marketing from FIREBELLY over the last few years. So I want to give it a try and see if it lived up to kind of the premium hype. Now, one thing that is really important to note is the tea that I drink is out of a like box, and it's like tea that's in a tea bag, which is probably how most people drink tea. FIREBELLY tea is loose leaf tea. So that is one of the things that kind of makes it distinct. And we'll get into why that kind of matters a little more into this customer journey. So right now, FIREBELLY is running a summer sale, so they have 30% off. But when I was shopping, that sale wasn't there. All I was able to get was 10% off. So what I want to point out here, because this is just really cool, and this is not something that a lot of brands do, at least not something that I've seen a lot. So FIREBELLY is using an app called Aaliyah, and Aaliyah's gotten more popular as a pop-up form builder, pop-up app. Most brands are not using it in this way. And essentially what FIREBELLY is doing is they're actually gamifying their pop-up form into requiring their users and their website visitors to be educated on the brand and the brand story in order to earn a discount. So instead of just giving a discount in exchange for an email address, they're actually making them like go through this educational funnel. I actually like did this because I was interested and I obviously wanted the 10% off discount. So basically you can see it right here. Like if you learn about their origin story, you get 5% off. Here's why. David loves tea. He collects it like some people collect wine, and then basically just goes into some more details about the story. You can click continue. So there's more education over here. And it really does a good job to draw you into like the brand and why it was created. And then there's actually a quiz component. So they're collecting zero-party data here as well, something that's great for all brands to be doing in 2025. So what's your story? I love tea is what I selected. And now I've got my 5% off. Now, if I want 7% off, here's where it gets really cool. I can keep going and basically keep learning more. Now they're educating me on like what makes world-class tea and why their tea is specifically world-class and premium. So this is a great just educational funnel to get me to understand more about what the product is and why it's premium. And basically I selected herbal tea over here. So now I've got 7% off and I can claim my 7% or I'll keep going. So I kept going because I wanted the whole 10%. And now they're basically educating me on like the best ways to shop, the best products to start with, etc. Compared to just getting 10% off, like by the time I went through this, I actually knew a lot about the brand. I knew more about why I should kind of trust the quality. The question that I had in my mind is just like what percentage of people actually go through that whole funnel. And I'm definitely curious to hear from our team of strategists afterwards on if they would do that. But like assuming the conversion rate is high, it was a really good funnel. So basically I got my 10% off. And then I started shopping. It was pretty easy for me to find what I wanted. They do have a lot of different types of tea, and their experience for shopping is pretty good on the e-com level. I think like having a shop by benefit section, if any brand is watching this and they have different benefits that their products offer, this like shop by benefit instead of just like shop by product type is a really good way for users to shop. And then like shop by flavor is definitely a really just interesting and useful way to shop as well. So because like I exclusively drink chamomile, that's what I was looking for. So I went and found their chamomile flavor. And yeah, it's this paradise one. So what we can see here at a high level is it helps with sleep, digestion, detox. It comes with 25 to 30 servings. So perfect for LTV Lab to see how they try to retain me after consuming it for 30 nights. And then essentially FIREBELLY offers a one-time purchase option or a subscription option. And FIREBELLY's subscription option has a subscribe and save offer. So if you subscribe, you can save 15% off. I wasn't ready to subscribe. I wanted to try the product first. So I went ahead and just placed a one-time purchase here. So in terms of their checkout, everything was super smooth. They do have like additional items to add to their cart. Now, here's where I'm going to just say this for the first time, and I'll probably say it again. I was not like super hyper aware of what goes into making loose leaf tea and the fact that you need a specific accessory to make loose leaf tea that you obviously don't need when you are drinking tea from a tea bag. So that would be like a strainer. So like right here, there was no prompt for me to add that to my cart to make sure that I had it. And we'll see why that kind of mattered in a second. I went to check out, everything was fine. They're on Shopify. And if anyone doesn't know, FireBelly was actually co-founded by the president of Shopify, Harley. So definitely makes sense that they're on Shopify. So I placed my order, and 1 day later, the order was shipped. So really good on them for shipping this extremely efficiently. Honestly, I know for me, like when something is kind of in progress for a long time and I'm just waiting to hear that it's been shipped, I can get frustrated for sure. So really like just nice to see that they were on the ball and shipped it the next day. The same day that my order was shipped, I got an email that basically said, "Heads up, Elliot." And it was like, check the steeping cheat sheet to learn how to make the perfect cup. So I definitely think this was a really nice touch to just like help me understand kind of how to do that. The problem is, and like we'll get into this with our other strategists, but I didn't actually click the CTA to get the perfect steep because to me, as a tea drinker who just drinks from regular tea bags, like I just put the tea bag in and that's it. So I've never really put thought into the fact that like there is more work to be done and more education to be done. There's two ways to kind of educate your subscribers. Like anytime you're sending an email, you can either include all of the educational touch points in the email, or you can do what FireBelly does here and basically tease the content and then link them out to consume all of the content somewhere else, like on your website, on Instagram, etc. So because I wasn't like linked out to another platform because I didn't click, this is basically all the information I got at this point. So this is basically where I just noted like there was no cross sell here directly for a tea strainer or for any steeping accessories. And definitely like when I got my order, I didn't have those, which made it not possible to immediately consume the tea. So I definitely think like this would be an amazing touch point to have had that in place. 2 days later, the order was delivered. So it got there very quick after I placed the order. Now there's no order delivered email that I received. I'm pretty surprised by this just because it is a transactional email that most Shopify brands usually have on by default. The only reason why this is super important for any brands watching this is just because if you're not sending that notification that the order's been delivered, like it's very easy for people to miss it. If you live in a condo like I do, it can easily be stolen if you're not alerted of it being there soon after it arrives. So like just to make sure that your package actually gets into the hands of your customers, really important to have an order delivered email. So on the same day that the order was delivered, I just got my first campaign. I'm pretty sure this was a campaign. Basically said need a minute to reset and just went into like why you should make drinking tea a habit. So great email. Honestly, like drinking tea is already a habit of mine. Then there was a 5-day delay. So pretty long delay between that email and the next one. And then 5 days later, which is 7 days after I received my package at this point, I received one email specifically about like meeting my new favorite tea strainer. So this is really the first like direct touch point that I get that's explaining like why I should buy a tea strainer. And honestly, like 7 days after the order was delivered, I'll just stop and kind of explain what happened when it was delivered. Because I didn't have the tea strainer, it was probably a week until I tried the product for the first time at my parents' house because they had a tea strainer. I just happened to be there in the area and I tried it there. And like that was probably a few days before this. And essentially, this would have been a good touch point for me to buy a tea strainer so that I could enjoy the tea. But 7 days later, I was no longer interested in the product after not really consuming it for those first 7 days at all because I didn't have this. And the immediate thought when I received the package and unboxed it and realized I can't consume this because I don't have the strainer wasn't let me go back to the website and buy the strainer. It was like, well, I guess I'm just not going to consume this until I have an opportunity to get a strainer. And I don't know if that's how everyone feels. I don't know if some people would just immediately go out and buy it, but I do think this is reflective of a real customer journey and the fact that if someone doesn't have all the things they need to actually use your product, then it's going to hurt. So, like I said, this was a good email, but at this point, I wasn't in a rush to go and spend money and buy this because I didn't have the strainer. I just went back to drinking my regular chamomile tea that was in the tea bag, but I needed to keep my ritual going. And at this point, I had fallen off the bandwagon basically. So now after this, there was a 14-day gap. And then I just started getting a bunch of Father's Day campaigns. So this is what a lot of brands will do. And it's just not a great practice. They'll only send campaigns when there's a reason for them on the business side to send campaigns. So that's very clearly what is happening with Firebelly. Like, you should be sending campaigns every week to stay top of mind for your customers. And like with me, I was not staying, like Firebelly was not staying top of mind. I went back to drinking my regular chamomile tea from those tea bags. And like then when they had something to sell me, that's when they just started sending campaigns almost daily to try to get me to buy for Father's Day. So they had a bunch of Father's Day campaigns go out, one final or two final campaigns that were basically just regular content. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of what I received from Firebelly over the course of the 30 days. So I'll definitely note that like the biggest takeaways for me were I didn't really use the product. I didn't really consume the product because I didn't have this strainer. And then also like there was very clearly no push to educate me on why I should be drinking Firebelly, like instead of the alternative. Because I do think a lot of people who go to Firebelly look at them as like a brand for tea drinkers. And yes, they do have that information in the pop up form where they have that educational funnel. But outside of that, I do think like the consistent reminders around like why you should be drinking Firebelly post purchase were missing. So yeah, that's really that. And then obviously like no subscription touch points in here at all. In terms of the unboxing, when I got the product, it was just in like a regular brown cardboard box. Their packaging is really subtle, Firebelly. So like it's made out of kind of like a compostable packaging material. So definitely like no bright colors. It does look like it's high quality.
I'm just looking at their website now. They have so much of educational content and so many nice visuals that they just don't use at all in the post purchase journey. And also, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I would have wanted to know about the tea strainer before I even made that purchase so I could have everything in one. Because if I get a product, I want to use it at that point. I don't want to wait for
Yeah.
another package to come through.
I'm the same. And if there's shipping and stuff, like I wouldn't like if it's not there on the product page or in the Shopify checkout to be like, wait, you actually need this? So like if I'm not buying it with the initial product, then finding out afterwards, like that would be a really big disappointment and miss.
I think it would have been really cool if like they had offered spend X amount, like if you know when they gave you the code initially, if they had given you a code to like spend X amount and get a tea strainer included in your order, that could have been really, really successful. I think they had done it years ago. I don't know why they stopped doing it, but that would have been such a nice like touch point of you getting everything you need in your order if you spent like a base
I
Yeah.
also
amount.
looked at the pop-up and the education in the pop-up doesn't talk about a tea strainer at all or what it is.
So I'm not crazy to like, because I was actually wondering, like, am I the only one that didn't think about this before buying?
No.
No, I
Like
know
what,
that.
like when you look at their website, you look at the
I
brand.
think though too,
No,
like as a new, like probably as a repeat purchaser, you're gonna know. But like for first
For
time
sure.
purchasers, it depends. Like they have an option in their pop-up of like, I'm new to tea. And like there's not, I went through it, but there's no different education if you're, I really love tea or I'm new to tea. And I feel like there should be. Like if I'm new to tea, I probably need a lot more education than someone who really is interested in tea. I don't drink tea. I know absolutely nothing. If I was buying this as like a gift for someone and I just bought them a bag and then realized, oh, they can't use it, like that would be also like a miss because I wouldn't know because I'm not a tea drinker, but nowhere does it tell me unless I go digging for it that like
Yeah.
you need to add this with it.
So Kayla's absolutely right. I drink a lot of tea, so I know these things, but things like how different steeping times affect how your tea tastes and how hot the water needs to be for different types of teas. So much education around to get a good cup of tea, and maybe that would have been in the link if for that perfect cup email if you had clicked
Mhm.
on it. But there's just so much there someone new to tea like wouldn't even know to look for.
I also feel like from what you're saying, Saf, like it sounds like there's so much education in what goes into making a good tea. Like even if you did click that link, how much education was there and would it have been an education overload? And it probably would have been more digestible to have it in an email based on like, hey, how to strain, something on water temperatures or whatever the different niches are of how
Yeah,
to
I'm actually looking at the link now, and it's actually really well done. Like it's broken up into three must knows, and it's like the amount of tea, the water temperature, and the steep time. So literally exactly what Saf was talking about. So I
Oh,
think maybe even if they didn't like actually write out everything in the email, but telling like first-time customers this is what you're actually going to get from the guide if you click onto it, I think that would be just really helpful as well, all the
yeah, because
information.
I also feel like looking at the email that Elliot received, like same as Elliot, like I wouldn't have opened it because I would have been like, make a perfect like it's easy, right? Like pour some water and it's fine. But then as Saf was explaining it, of like, oh no, you need perfect water temperature, perfect time. I'm like, oh, there's so much more into tea, and I wouldn't know that based on like their copy or even like the header they use.
That and like it also changes depending on the type of tea you purchase. So a white tea versus a black tea versus a green tea, they're all different. You could definitely branch a flow or like use dynamic content for like your bucket of tea. So like all white tea has similar instructions and all green tea has similar instructions.
They actually on this link
Yeah.
specific products, so like a good root, after dinner mint, or matcha. They have specific instructions for each one on the same page. It's so well
Yeah.
done. I just don't know why they don't translate that information to like their emails and their post-purchase journey.
I think it's just a good call out for any brand that might be watching. So many brands do the hard work of putting together amazing educational resources, but it might be on Instagram, it might be on TikTok, it might be on your website, where so many brands just drop the ball, is assuming that people are going to do the work themselves to seek it out instead of putting all this amazing content directly in front of them at the right time.
And I mean, they're also on Shopify, so even having like a native Shopify pop up at the checkout for like the tea strain as well, it's just such a simple, easy step to get people to actually increase their AOV, but also have a better experience.
Yeah, you guys have no idea how validated I feel because I thought I was going to come on here and get absolutely roasted for buying this and not having a tea trainer and then only realizing after. So definitely good validation. And like the fact that this is all we're talking about right now is just a really, really good call out that like retention starts at the first purchase. And like often we talk about like what needs to be done on the email and SMS side to make sure that someone enjoys their first purchase, but literally like just making sure that they're able to use the product that they're buying is extremely important. And the truth is, we work with a few brands that go out of their way to include a free gift with a customer's first order for the only sole reason being that that gift is going to enhance the usability and the enjoyment of that product.
I'm curious.
I'm thinking of like how Holos does that.
Yeah, with the jar. And that they're branded too, which is really cute.
Mhm.
Even for here, like if they had like a small strainer that wasn't maybe the one that you purchased, but like or
Right.
something that could be like a really cute addition to your package. I'm curious, on the actual tea package, did it say like you need a strainer or like how to make it? Or you just opened it and you're like, what the heck is this?
So no, it's very obvious that you can't just
Yeah.
like pour it in a cup and then pour water over it. It did have the instructions, but like the one time that I made the tea, which was at my parents' house, like it said like steep for 3 to 5 minutes on it, or like steep for at least 5 minutes, something like that. And like the flavor was very light after. And I just couldn't tell, like, is it meant to be that light or did I not steep it enough? And I think that goes into your point, Saf, I think, of like, there is education that needs to be had around like expectations of just like, what is this supposed to be like? And how do I know I'm going through this process the right way? Because, like, 100%, this is a new experience to probably most people that are used to drinking tea from tea bags. And I feel like there's just a big assumption that anyone who's shopping with the brand for the first time is already an expert in loose leaf tea.
Yeah, I
I found
so it said like the founder of this one, like they originally were David's Tea, and I remember David's Tea being in like
Mhm.
all the malls, and they would have people standing outside educating you about tea and how like all the information, and you could go in and get like a sample, and like they would have these like tea experts, people who are like talk to you about tea, and I feel like that's what they need to translate into their email is like make me a tea expert or educate me like those tea experts were doing because yeah, it's definitely a new experience and I would imagine with it being a new experience if you don't have all the tools and education to make it a great experience, you're probably not having a second one.
absolutely that, but with that, I think it's interesting that Elliot said the one time he made the tea. So now not only are people not having the best first experience, but there's no encouragement for them to get the most out of their tea. You can make other things with different types of tea. You can add lemonade to it to make like a Starbucks style refresher. You can add actual fruit pieces to like enhance flavors. Like there's so much there that they could have told you to encourage you to not just use it once, but to use it again and again and again to get you to reorder. Because, like, how many times did you actually drink the tea?
Literally once. And the truth is, I was thinking for the point of this video, like I should probably go and buy a strainer and like consume this more. But honestly, the whole point of LTV Lab is just to understand like how customers actually shop and how they feel. And like I didn't feel like doing that. And I still had like tea bags from the grocery store that I could use when I wanted a cup of chamomile tea. It's like I just went to do that instead because it was the way easier thing to do. And I think like that is probably closer to normal customer behavior than like being like, oh, I need to go buy this extra thing.
I think also more importantly than that, like they have a subscription model that works so well for tea because everyone just keeps reordering. And the fact that that wasn't even like brought up once in the post-purchase journey, like they did what Saf said, where they educated customers, showed them different ways to use the teas, and then segue that into the subscription process and program and really highlight that and show the different ways that it can be used in their life. I think that would be such a huge thing for them, which they just don't have.
100%. Yeah. I would say like the two big misses probably are like, especially around subscription, are like just a huge lack of us versus them messaging and like just continuing to like I said, I just went back to drinking that way cheaper, objectively lower quality probably tea. But to me, it's just like I only know what I know, you know? It's like the tea tastes
Is
good.
there
Like the
sorry, I'm curious just because I don't know. Is there a
yeah,
difference between the benefits of like a steep tea versus like a grocery store tea bag tea? Like, do you get more sleep benefits or things like that?
maybe Saf can answer that.
So,
I don't know, which is probably a problem.
I think it depends on the type of tea. It also depends on where they get it. So I don't know if the benefits change of the tea itself, but I do know that when you use the tea sachets, those are typically made of plastic. So now you're getting microplastics in your water. That's
Mm,
huge. They should be telling people avoid microplastics, drink our tea, or if
yeah,
wherever you're getting it from is a lower quality source, maybe they're spraying the tea with pesticides and Firebelly doesn't fits are,
right.
but does that make sense?
Oh, even this,
For
like
sure.
100%. Yeah, because I wouldn't know, like, why is this better? And why should I go do, like, even if, like, they didn't upsell me on a strainer and made sure I was aware of that, they had sent something that was like, this is why we're better and this is why you really should consume us. Maybe that would push me to be like, okay, maybe I do need to go get that strainer and, like, actually give this a shot. If I was told, like, that my grocery store tea bag had, like, plastics in it, I would,
A hundred
oh,
percent.
ew, I don't want to
Like
drink that.
100%. And I think like there's probably a really common misconception that brands have, and even maybe that marketers have, which is like once someone buys the product, like they know what they need to know. But realistically, it's like I never even like scrolled through all of these product images on the product page when I was shopping to see that like this is 100% pure compared to how other teas like act. So yeah, 100%. I wish I would have received that messaging to get myself to consume the tea. When you asked about the quality of loose leaf tea, that's actually not something they talk about, but maybe it is. Maybe they talk about it on another page that Kana was seeing, and it's just not mentioned here. The point is, if there is anything to talk about, which there definitely is because they have all of that amazing content, then you have to put it in front of people and you have to do it at the right time.
Question for you, Elliot. If you found that this tea specifically improved your sleep better than like your grocery store brand, would you have been more loyal to this brand?
Yes. Um,
I
I
was
think it like,
I'm extremely loyal to the teas that I like. Like if I like it, I'm gonna keep buying it. But if I wasn't encouraged to like keep trying it and get the most use out of it, I wouldn't become loyal.
yeah, I really don't look at tea like as a functional product in my life. So that's why I was hesitant to answer the question. I drink chamomile tea before bed because I find it calming, but I don't directly associate it with better sleep. I think what is understated here and what we haven't really talked about is the vast majority of what gets people to be loyal to any food and beverage product is going to be flavor and taste at the end of the day. And ultimately, it didn't live up. The one time that I tasted it, it wasn't like much better than the tea that I had at the grocery store. And that could be because of how I steeped it,
That
you
was my
know?
next
And
question.
what's
Did you use the same
and
amount of
what's
tea?
really the same amount,
Like the right amount that it told you to use? Like what
I
did you
don't
oh,
yeah, I used what the package told me to use and I
okay.
steeped it for how long it told me to steep it. But like I'm sure if you were in the room, like maybe you would see
Oh,
something that
there's
was
a
like,
tip
oh,
there.
no.
There's a tip right there that you probably longer steeping times will bring out more flavor and complexity. And
Oh,
so if that wasn't on the bag or communicated to you and you wanted more flavor, you wouldn't have known that.
yeah, and even something like this, I definitely did not do this. Like boil water, like let it cool for 1 to 2 minutes. I definitely just pour it in right away. Like, would that have made a big difference? I don't know. And I also think like what's interesting is that they put a focus on like where the ingredients are sourced from, because I remember reading it. But I remember reading this and thinking like, why is this better? Like if all of these ingredients that like are in the same tea I buy from the grocery store are like all sourced in Canada hypothetically or all sourced in China, like I don't understand why lavender from Albania is better than lavender from Canada, you know? And I do think like that as well in an email, if there is a reason, like why are you sourcing it from Albania? Like, did you try like lavender from 20 different countries? And like that process led you to the like understanding that this is the best in the world. Like I should know that, you know? Anything else you'd want to call out if they were a client?
Yeah, I would definitely add like gifts with products for every kind of few orders because I feel like this is definitely a brand that would work really, really well. And then also just in terms of like the post-purchase experience, they don't have anything for like feedback. They don't have any NPS ratings. So all of this feedback that we have, and I'm sure like we're not the only ones, they don't have any of this information, which I think is quite a gap in their post-purchase journey as well.
I think even
For sure.
cross-selling, right? So say you did have all the information or you knew about steeping and you tried just chamomile, there's other teas like in that sleep category if that's was what your benefit that potentially could be of interest for you or even like they have a sleep support bundle. So like they're three recommended teas. So like just like cross-selling that or even like other benefits that might be of
Yeah.
interest.
I mean, even something that they could include with the subscription program is like an exclusive community just for tea drinkers where they give tips and tricks and that can be
Yeah.
like an exclusive thing that they can get only when they subscribe.
100%. One thing that I just noticed is they actually have this whole like bundles, kits and bundles page, and they have like the exact bundle that I would have wanted. And what's just like very interesting on the business side is this isn't that much more expensive than like just the tea bag. Like the tea bag was I think $24. I have it here. Yeah, it was $24 for just the bag of tea. And then like it's $10 more for a cup and a strainer. And like in terms of their cost of goods sold, like I can't imagine the strainer is more than like $2. So when you look at the equation of is including that on every first purchase going to yield a much higher repeat purchase rate, like that $2 investment could be a massive, massive ROI. And it's like they already have the bundle together, you know? So it's like I think you were saying it, Kana, like a pop-up when I add this to cart to say like, hey, is this your first time drinking loose leaf tea? Get the bundle, you know? Maybe it's like $5 more. Would have sold me for sure. So in terms of the initial ordering experience, like in the moment, I thought it was fine. Looking back in terms of the role that it played in my customer retention, I would say that this was probably like a 4 because of what it was missing that we just talked about. In terms of the order to delivery phase, I would give this a 7. So it shipped really quickly. They sent me my order confirmation, shipping confirmation, but I do think like they have to be deducted 3 points for not sending me the final like delivery notice because it definitely could have gone stolen. Unboxing, I'd say that this was probably a 7 on 10 as well. Like there was nothing wrong. It was just very standard packaging. At this point, like across all of our episodes, we've seen really, really good packaging. So my bar for what my expectations are have definitely been raised. 7's just like average. And there's also no information in there either. Even a QR code, maybe that would go to that everything you need to know about steeping, making the perfect cup page would have gone a long way. Post purchase, in terms of emails and SMSs received, I'd say this was probably like a 3. There was just like the bare minimum done to try and educate me on what I needed to consume the product and what could have made my experience better. Nothing about subscription, so it's probably a 3. Product satisfaction, I would give probably a 6. Like it was all right. And again, maybe that was my fault. I'll give them the full benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, that was my experience with it. And then when we come to overall retention rating, like I would say this is probably a 4, just because there was basically nothing done that would have gotten me to repurchase. Now, in terms of the final question, will I be buying from FireBelly again? The answer is unfortunately no. I only tried the tea once. It's still sitting there. I still don't have my strainer. Maybe one day I'll get a strainer as a gift and I'll continue using it. But at this point, I am very happy to go back to my much cheaper tea that I get from the grocery store. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode of LTV Lab. A lot of amazing insights for all brands watching. If you'd like to have a deep dive audit of your customer journey done by our strategists at Dispatch, you can find the link in the description of the video below, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.